歡迎各位觀眾收睇呢一集嘅周一長談，我係你哋嘅節目主持人梁英年。距離 BC 省嘅省選咧就越嚟越接近啦，咁所以咧我都希望可以有更多有關於咧係省選各方面嘅信息咧係帶俾我哋嘅觀眾嘅。咁而喺今日嘅節目裏邊咧，我係請嚟咗 BC 其中一個嘅政黨係喺省議會裏邊嘅官式反對黨，以前咧就叫做係 BC 自由黨嘅，咁啊後來咧就改咗名叫做係 BC 聯合黨 BC United。咁啊我就請嚟咗佢哋嘅黨領咧係 Falcon 馮義幹咧，同大家講下最新一啲嘅發展同埋咧民意嗰啲嘅改變咧，真係一時一樣，究竟係邊樣先係真，邊樣係假嘅咧？咁我歡迎咧係 Falcon 上嚟同大家去傾下嘅。Thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you for having me, Ronald.
Now I've been telling our audience that you changed the name of the party from BC Liberal to BC United.
Right.
I remember last time when we talked about this issue, you said you try to unite British Columbians.
Yes.
I have a common goal. Right? After 1 year, more than a year, it looks like the plan is not what we expected it would turn out to be. Because according to some public opinion poll, from internet poll, something like that, your support dropped instead of increased. And when we go close to the provincial election, that is not something you want to see.
No, that's for sure. But I will tell you, I don't worry about it quite as much. And the reason is that we experience a very different response when we're on the doorsteps, when we're actually phoning into communities, when our candidates are talking to people out on the streets and in their neighborhoods. So, you know, I think you have to understand, 5 months, almost 5 months from an election, people aren't paying attention to provincial politics. Most people don't even know there's an election coming up in October.
Oh, that's true.
That's the problem. But I do trust British Columbians. You know, as we get closer to the election and people start paying attention, then they start looking around and saying, what are my options here? BC United, they say, who's BC United? And then, oh, the old BC Liberals. Ah, okay, yes, they were good governments. Kevin Falcon, yes, I remember him. He built the Canada line. He got things done. Okay. You know, that he'll be a good leader. So I am very, very confident that I trust the public. I really believe that the public is going to look and say the NDP, they're too extreme left. BC Conservatives, which is not connected to the federal party at all, too extreme right. They want mainstream, sensible people.
Now, but a year ago, when you changed the name to BC United, at that time, the Conservative Party of BC, or we call them the BC Conservative, they are nowhere near where they are now. It was about single-digit support from British Columbia, and they have not been in the legislature for the last 20 years.
That's right.
But over a year, their support seems to have increased quite a bit. The most recent poll said they have more than 30% support of BC voters. Now you have another problem. Instead of just with the name change, recognition of the name and who is Kevin Falcon, now you have another one that will split the vote from the BC United. You are not united, you divided. So how are you going to deal with this issue?
The same way we deal with it in every election, because you have to remember, this is not new, Ronald. In fact, I can show you polls from 2011, 2012, 2013, where the BC Conservative Party and the BC Liberals, as we were named then, were tied in the polls. Very, very similar situation, and a lot of people said, oh my goodness, you know, they're not going to win, the vote's going to split. But as you get closer and closer to the election date, things change. In the 2013 election, BC Liberals were 23 points behind the NDP. 23 points. And we ended up winning a majority government in that election, 2013. So things change very quickly. You just have to understand that the public right now is confused. They're confusing the Federal Conservative Party, which is very popular. That's Pierre Poilievre and the Federal Conservatives. They think it's the same thing as the BC Conservatives. They're two very separate parties. And the BC Conservative Party has candidates that are very extreme with views that are frankly, you know, racist. They're anti, you know, science. They're kind of crazy views, frankly. And those people are not going to be mainstream. They will not get support in an election campaign.
Now, if that is true for what you just said, why are you trying to get cooperation with the BC Conservative in the last few months, and it looks like it's not very successful? They are not accepting your offer.
Well, because what we hear from people, the public, okay, not people involved in parties, but the public are saying to me, and they're saying to John Rustad, the leader of the BC Conservative Party, what they're saying to us both is, please, don't don't split the vote and let the NDP win. Can you work together? And I said to all the people that talked to me like that, I said I would go and make a genuine effort, okay? Not to merge, because we can't merge with the BC Conservatives. They have many candidates that are too extreme. But I said that we could cooperate together, and maybe we could say, we could figure out a framework on how we can cooperate so we don't run against each other in some ridings and split the vote. And I felt it very important to follow through and do that with integrity and with a genuine goodwill to see if we can come to an agreement. We had trusted representatives from both parties meet. They talked. They established a framework that could potentially work. And then it was brought back to the leaders. And I said, I'm okay with that. That's the basis for a good discussion. And John Rustad said, no, he doesn't want to. So that's okay, though. I mean, he has the right to say that. But I am now going to focus entirely on making sure that we become the government.
Now, was that because of animosity between you and Mr.
No.
Rustad? You kicked him out of the caucus at the beginning, and now he has more than 30% support from public opinion poll, and you are down there. So
well, be
you're
careful.
asking
Be
him
careful.
to
Yeah,
cooperate.
but be careful with that, Ronald. Do you really think that he has 30% support? Do you think that the public has suddenly said, "Hey, John Rustad, what a great leader he is"? No, people don't even know. You go out in the street and ask the first random 10 people you meet. Ask if they know who John Rustad is. I guarantee you 8 out of 10 people have no idea. So it has nothing to do with John Rustad or the BC Conservatives. It's just the name Conservative confuses people and they're thinking about the federal party. But I just promise you, by the time we get to that election day, people are they're going to be paying more attention. And when they pay attention, they're going to say, wait a minute, that's not Pierre Poilievre. Who's this guy? And who are these people that are running with him that have these very extreme views? No. That's not British Columbia.
But at the end of the day, it's a democratic system. If John Rustad is running as a candidate and he accepts those people to run for his party,
yes.
and if they are extremists, nobody likes them, they will not get elected
That's
at the
right.
end of it.
That's right.
Right. So that will be the choice of British Columbians.
Yes, I
who
agree.
they want to be their representative.
I
so
agree.
It really doesn't matter to you, right? If they have this kind of crazy candidates running.
It doesn't matter to me, but it matters to the public. Because, look, I've been around in British Columbia for a long time. And one thing about British Columbians, and Canadians really, is Canadians are mainstream. They're very, their small percentage might be extreme, they have extreme beliefs. But most people aren't racists, and most people don't believe that vaccinations are the equivalent of Nazism or apartheid. That's what the BC Conservative candidates say. Those are extreme beliefs, and those are not the kind of beliefs that most British Columbians believe in.
Now, but on the other hand, people have been criticizing the BC United that you have no principle, you don't have a belief. When compared with John Rustad or some of the people,
give me an example.
At least they have a belief.
Give me an example.
They believe vaccine is not good. It's like Nazism. Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk about drug issue. Compare BC Conservative and BC United.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a difference? We know NDP is extreme. They want to legalize.
Yes.
They discriminalize.
They do.
Hard drug.
Yes.
And they have shooting. They want to have shooting gallery in
That's
hospital.
Right. Absolutely.
So what is BC United? Just say on one issue, drug. Any different from the BC Conservative?
Oh my God, very, very different. I mean, we were the party, the BC United was the party in opposition that said from the very outset when the NDP brought in their very reckless decriminalization program, we opposed it, we said it was the wrong thing to do, and we said it would fail. Without proper guardrails, it would fail. They did not put the guardrails in place, and that's why there's been an explosion of open drug use in parks and playgrounds and beaches, and even under the NDP in hospitals, where they not only allow illegal drug use in hospitals, they encourage it. That we released, it was BC United in opposition that released the memos that were leaked to us from frontline nurses and doctors that showed that the NDP were saying open drug use is allowed inside the hospitals, and the drug dealers are allowed to come in and out of hospitals to give people more drugs.
It's like facilitating.
It's incredible. I've never seen anything like it. They even said that they're allowed to have weapons as long as the knife blade is not longer than 4 inches.
It's so crazy.
It's so crazy. And so this is something that I feel very strongly about, and I have been very clear. When I become Premier of this province, that policy ends in 5 minutes. What did the NDP said? They said, we're going to have we're going to study this. We're going to put together a group and go around the province and decide what to do. I don't need a group
it's
to go.
It's a waste of time.
It's incredible.
Have to decide.
And I'll tell you this, they are going to put a shooting gallery back into Richmond. Absolutely 100%.
So if they continue to govern, that will happen.
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind, because this is what they believe. They believe ideologically very strongly that the solution to people struggling with addiction is to give them free drugs. Cocaine, fentanyl, hydromorphone. These are very, very dangerous drugs. And they hand them out to people, yes, with prescriptions, but no clinical supervision. And these drugs end up being sold to drug dealers so they can get cash, the people struggling with addiction, and they go buy fentanyl. And then those drugs get sold to our kids in our high schools, in our colleges. I'm very, very upset about this. And this is going to change under a BC United government.
Okay, so you have strong position on those issues.
Very.
But there's another criticism is about the leadership. So a leader should be the one that united your caucus. But you kick out John Rusted from your caucus after you changed the name from BC Liberal to BC United.
Right.
Is there something about you, your leadership, your ability to hold your caucus together?
No, I think, first of all, you know, I've been part of a government caucus for many years. We lost people in the past.
You've been in
I've been
government a long
in government.
time.
We lost John Van Dongen, a former MLA that became the leader of the BC Conservative Party in the past, in the 2000s, and we've lost other people over the years. It's hard to hold everyone together all the time, truthfully. It's very hard. But the problem with John is John changed his position that he had for almost 20 years on climate change.
Can he change?
That's okay, and it's okay to change.
Right.
And I told John that too. I said it's okay to change, and it's okay to have a different position. You know, he now denies climate change. But what I said to him was, it's okay to have that position, and within our caucus, our group, in our room, we can all have differing opinions. We all do.
You're not a dictator. You allow different opinion in your caucus.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
But the problem was John was going outside the caucus and putting in social media things that hurt all the team. And so all I said to John was, John, please don't keep hurting the team with your beliefs, your new beliefs, because that hurts everyone, right? We have to be a team. And he refused to adhere to that. He said, no, I get to say whatever I want outside. And I said, well, then you can't be part of the team. That's what happened.
Now, then how are you going to work with a caucus or your party, as you say, is united? You try to put different people together and they may have different opinion. How are you going to keep them working together with one goal? Get rid of the NDP government?
Well, the way we've always done it, the way we did it under Christy Clark, the way we did it under Gordon Campbell, and that is you listen to people. You want to have people with strong opinions. That's why we are attracting such strong candidates. We've got several doctors, we've got entrepreneurs, we've got lawyers, we've got teachers, we've got former mayors and councillors that are running for BC United. Why? Because they know that we are the strong coalition. And believe me, they have very strong views on a whole range of subjects. Our responsibility, my responsibility as the leader, is to listen to all of those diverse opinions and then help formulate policy that reflects a lot of those opinions, but can go out into the public and say we're united behind these, these policies.
Then, a few months left, how are you going to, if you can, work with the BC Conservatives so you can achieve a common goal, get rid of the NDP? There's not much time left. As a voter, we don't want you to fight continually in the next few months. How are you going to work with John Rusted? Yeah,
well, I'm not, frankly, I won't be spending much time working with John Rusted. Not because I don't care about them, but my job is to elect BC United MLAs, and we're going to do that. We're going to surprise people. Why? Because we have exceptional candidates with good, solid policies, with good leadership. And I think that all matters to British Columbians, because I can tell you right now, I travel all across this province. There is a very strong mood for change right now. People are very unhappy with this NDP government, not just because of their crazy drug policies, but because of what they're doing to our education system, what they're doing to our healthcare system, our economy, for goodness sakes. We've had 3 credit rating downgrades already under the NDP. They've doubled the debt. They've got the biggest deficit in history. This is the worst government I've seen in a long time. And people want change, but they want change that they can believe in. They want change that's going to be led by people that know how to govern. And they don't want a whole bunch of people that have never been elected to anything, that have not a party that has never elected an MLA in 50 years. They want real people that can get the job done.
Okay, so from now on, you will not concentrate on how you're going to work with John Rusted of the BC Conservatives. Because the NDP, they are laughing. They say, oh, these 2 parties, they are infighting, and they are not putting focus on the issue that British Columbians really concerned about. Just as you mentioned, housing, inflation, healthcare, and also the infrastructure building. recently we heard that all those infrastructure building delayed. You've been doing this for a long time. You built the SkyTrain system.
That's right.
So how do you look at how the NDP government is doing on controlling how to build BC?
It's awful, quite honestly. Look, I built the Canada Line, Gordon Campbell and myself, on schedule and on budget. Okay, I built the Port Mann Bridge, the South Fraser Perimeter Road, Sea to Sky Highway. These are all fantastic projects. The vast majority of them were either on or ahead of schedule and on budget. The NDP, you know, the Patalo Bridge is now at least a year behind schedule. It's already wildly over budget. The Broadway subway,
another 3 years.
Yeah, it's terrible.
People are closing their business along the Broadway line.
Yeah, no, it's appalling, and the public is paying the price because our taxes are going up. They have 32 new and increased taxes. That's why we've become the most unaffordable province in the country, because we've got bad management. You know, David Eby and the NDP don't know how to manage an economy. That's the truth. They don't come from private sector. I've spent time in the private sector. You know, I spent the last 10 years as a senior executive building more housing than the NDP government did in 10 years.
That's probably true.
It's true.
The 10 years that you work for the private company,
that's right.
Build houses.
Built more housing than the entire government of British Columbia did. So, you know, this is important. And, you know, John Rustad likes to pretend he's a new person with change. He's been an elected politician for 20 years. Okay, I don't know what job he had even before 20 years ago, but I can tell you experience matters. Experience in leadership in the private sector and the public sector. And having great candidate matters. You know, like Teresa Watt, Wendy Ewan, and Jackie Lee. You know, these are all very good candidates that we've got running in Richmond, and including Richmond-Queensborough, where we've got another exceptional candidate. So these are all strong candidates, and I can tell you when we go into that election, that makes a big difference.
Now,
Ronald.
talking about personal experience, you have children that are still in the school system. How do you look at the education? Many people in the Chinese community come to Canada because of education of the next generation, and by what happened in the last several years or even decades, our education system has been going downward.
Oh, it's terrible.
So how are you going to deal with it?
I'm going to change it in a number of ways. Number one, we're going to restrict cell phone uses in the classroom. No cell phones in classrooms.
Many people will be happy.
Yeah, very important. Number two, we're going to say no vaping in schools. We're going to put alarms inside the school bathrooms so that when kids go in there to vape, that the alarms go off and we know what's happening. Number three, we're going to support excellence in education. You know, the NDP have eliminated the honors programs. We need to have programs that look after special needs, but also special needs of children that we want to encourage to do really well, in addition to the kids that need extra supports. And so I just think that our education system needs a lot of work. And we're going to focus on achievement and excellence and supporting kids, especially kids that have special needs and need extra supports. But we have to support those kids that are also very intellectually advanced, and that we want them to do well too.
Now, you see, the problem for a lot of Chinese community parents is what they hear from the education system. Most of the time, they talk about issues that's not related to what will make their kids can compete in this world.
That's right.
They talk about sexual orientation. They talk about all those freedom that they should have in the school, and all those issues that are not really basic to how they're going to make a living after they finish school.
Exactly.
That is what we need in the school, is how to teach the kid something that's useful when they get out of school in the real world.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely. I think I hear this from parents all the time. They want us to get back to the basics of teaching our kids to read, write, understand arithmetic. Absolutely. And prepare them for the real world that's out there. The real world where there's winners and losers, and you know that's the reality.
The NDP don't want any winner or
no,
loser.
Everyone's a winner. Everyone wins first prize. You know, but that's not the real world. And so I agree with you, and I hear this a lot from parents. And you know, so those are the kind of things that that's why I came back to politics, Ronald. I didn't come back to be leader of this party and leader of the official opposition because I needed the job. It's because I care so much about that next generation. I really do. We have to get things back on track in BC.
Now, how about this economy? I think it's your favorite.
It is. Yeah.
It's a free enterprise party,
That's right?
BC United. NDP, our economy is going downward.
It is.
Our credit rating has been going downward.
Yes.
what is the plan? How are you going to do
our
it?
plan is very similar to what we did the first time we got elected. Remember when
Many years ago?
Yeah, in 2001 when I first got elected, we inherited 10 years of NDP government.
I remember that.
So remember we had the highest tax rates in North America.
It was a catastrophe.
Terrible catastrophe. And so what did we do? We cut personal income taxes 25% across the board. We reduced red tape. That was my first job. Unnecessary red tape by over 1/3 in our first 3 years. And we balanced the budget in 3 years, and we got things back on track, and we made big investments, and we built the economy again. That's the recipe for success. We have to put more money back in the pockets of British Columbians because they're struggling right now. BC's become the most unaffordable province in the entire country under the NDP. We've got 70,000 British Columbians left British Columbia last year to go to other provinces like Alberta.
Yeah.
That's the most people that have left BC instead of coming into BC in 20 years since the last time the NDP were in power. And so we have to change this. And the way we change this is by getting people in government that understand how you have to grow the economy. I call it like growing the economic pie so that there's more for everybody. The NDP shrink the pie, and that's not good for anybody.
They keep on giving more out, but they're not increasing the pie.
That's right.
The pie is shrinking.
It's very important.
That's what is our situation right now.
It really is.
Now, the other thing is about immigration.
Yes.
There's a lot of our audience, they're immigrant or even new immigrant. So the federal government, they have no limit. They have more people coming in, but they cannot have the service for all those people.
That's right.
And a lot of those people come to BC. So how is BC going to attract the right kind of people to come to build our province?
That is such a great question, because one of the reasons why British Columbia is such a great province is because of the kind of immigrants that have come to British Columbia. The Chinese, the South Asian, the Vietnamese. We've had all kinds of immigrants come here and help build British Columbia to be what it is today. The challenge we're facing right now is the federal government is sending about 200,000 immigrants. I'm including students on work visas and people
Those
on
temporary residents.
temporary work permits. And the problem is 200,000 people a year. You know, in a very good year, we maybe build 40,000 new homes, maybe. So there's a huge crisis in trying to deal with all these people, and the federal government has to take responsibility. And part of what I will do as Premier is say to the federal government, you know, you can't just keep sending all these people without making sure we have the infrastructure in place, the hospitals, the schools, making sure we've got housing in place. And that's the problem. There's a disconnect between what the federal government is doing and what we can handle here provincially. And so we will make sure that we get that right and make sure we're getting the kind of immigrants that have helped us build this economy. The Chinese immigration into British Columbia has built this province all the way back from the railroads to today, right here in British Columbia. The technology investments, the entrepreneurs and the restaurateurs and all of the academics and the lawyers and doctors, and you know, they have made an incredible contribution and can continue to do so. But let's make sure we're getting those immigrants into BC so they can help us continue to build.
Now, we have the economy. That is your plan. It's also talk about our safety. If it's not a safe environment, people will not come and people will not feel comfortable living in British Columbia. Our crime is out of control. People going in, those rotating doors.
Catch and release, we say.
Catch and release. Is this something that you can do if you become the Premier of British Columbia?
Very much so. This is very important to me. So 2 things we're going to do very quickly. One, we're going to change the system from David Eby's catch and release because he has made it that way. David Eby's belief when he was Attorney General for 5.5 years is that it's not the criminal's fault, you see. So we must release them back into the community.
It's a fault of the society to make them criminal.
Yeah, and I am very different. If somebody is a repeat offender, especially a violent offender, we hold them in jail. That's where they deserve to be, because we cannot have people released back onto the street to reoffend and harm other people. Number 2, we're going to invest in mental health facilities, secure facilities where people on the streets that have untreated severe mental health, we take them off the street involuntarily if necessary and put them into 24/7 care. That's the right thing to do. It's the compassionate thing to do because they can't make decisions in their own best interest. And because of that, they can be a risk to themselves and to others. And so we need to help them off the streets into proper 24/7 care with the proper psychiatric and medical supports so that we can keep our streets safe and look after those folks and help them get better.
This is real caring of everyone in British Columbia.
Absolutely.
Not just blaming the society for what they have done wrong.
Exactly.
And it's to really help the people that really need those help. Instead of bickering in politics, we're talking about real issue just now. Where there's so many real issues that is facing British Columbia.
Yes.
There's, in this coming election, we can have a lot of issues that we can talk about. We have a few more months. So I'll invite Kevin Falcon back again to the program to talk about more issues just before your vote in October. 咁好多謝大家收睇今日嘅週一長談。咁啦。唔再係政治上面嘅爭拗，黨與黨之間嘅一啲嘅爭拗，我哋應該去講一啲係 BC 省民真正關心嘅問題，影響住我哋每一日生活嘅問題。咁頭先咧同阿馮議幹咧講咗好多佢關心嘅議題。如果成為省長之後，佢點可以令到 BC 省更加適合我哋喺度居住，更加吸引合適嘅人嚟到建設我哋嘅 BC 省嘅。咁啊，今日嘅時間咧就好有限，多謝咧馮議幹 Kevin Falcon 上嚟同大家講咗咁多有關 BC 縣咧，同埋佢對於而家嗰啲民意調查嗰個嘅轉變，佢嘅睇法，究竟乜嘢先至係真正最重要？係你手上嗰一票，究竟喺省選嘅時候，你係選擇邊個去代表你去管治呢個 BC 省嘅？So thank you very much for coming to the program.
Thank you so much, Ronald. I really enjoyed this. This is fantastic.